Tina Lawson and her second husband of 8 years, Richard Lawson, have called it quits. And the truth is, even though we thought that things were solid between them, it turns out that they had been faking things for months, and the marriage has been a mess. Now, people have been speculating about what really happened, and it looks like Miss Tina is in high spirits because she just gave us a breakdown of what led to the divorce. And child, a lot was going down behind the scenes. Did Richard really switch up on her? I don't know what's in the air or in the water down at Hollywood, but it seems like this is a season for divorces and separations because we have heard so many reports of celebs getting divorced this past week alone. And unfortunately, one of such people is Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles. Now, they never really talked about their marriage in public, but whenever they did, people were sure that Richard and Tina were going strong. What makes this news even more upsetting is the fact that people thought that Richard was going to be her Prince Charming after all that Matthew put her through. People feel like she deserves a happy ending after her disastrous and toxic relationship with Matthew Knowles ended. To give you some context, Tina and Matthew were married for more than 30 years. And child, when I tell you that them 30 years were not happy, rumor has it that Matthew cheated on Tina throughout the 30 years that they were married. And even when Beyonce became a star, Matthew did not stop cheating on Tina. In fact, it got even worse. He ended up getting not one, but 2 different women pregnant at around the same time. The second love child was the final straw for Tina, and she ended up dumping him and filing for divorce. Beyonce dropped Matthew as her manager after this, and while the official reason is that he was suspected of stealing from her, people have always believed that the real reason that she fired him was because he had 2 kids on her mom. We know Beyonce was upset about this because she has never acknowledged Matthew's loved children. Anywho, back to Tina. Her divorce from Matthew was finalized in late 2011, but she didn't start dating Richard until the summer of 2013. But what a lot of people don't realize is that she and Richard go way back because they had known each other for more than 30 years and had been friends throughout. Richard's sister Gwen was Tina's best friend. Richard and Tina first met in 1981 when Tina had gone to visit Gwen. At the time, Tina was heavily pregnant with Beyonce, but that didn't stop Richard from having an instant attraction to her. It was love at first sight for him, and he tried to put moves on Tina even though he could clearly see that she was pregnant and married. But that didn't matter to him, so I guess he was about that lifestyle. Tina ended up turning him down because not only was she married, but he was also married with a child as well. But even though Tina turned him down, Richard was not ready to give up and he chose to stay in the friend zone. Staying in the friend zone did nothing for Richard because he was still in love with her. But to his credit, he managed to stay respectful of her marriage and nothing inappropriate ever happened between them. However, a lot of people don't believe this, and there have been whispers over the years that the reason Tina had no issues with Matthew cheating on her is that she was also sneaking around with Richard. Now, these are just rumors, and this is what the Twitter streets are saying, so y'all didn't hear it from me. Anywho, after she got divorced from Matthew, Richard hit her up and started making moves on her again. This is just a next level of commitment because he waited 31 years for her marriage to end, and then he made his move. Unfortunately for him, Tina wasn't interested at first, and people believe that part of the reason is because Richard had gotten another woman pregnant after he got divorced from his first wife. He wasn't exactly in a relationship with his second baby mama, and it was more like a fling. It's not hard to see why Tina would feel a type of way about dating a man with a child from a fling because of her experience with Matthew. So I can understand why she would be scared of putting herself in that situation again. It took Richard 2 years to convince her to change her mind, and they finally started dating in 2013. This means that it took Matthew 32 years to get a chance. Anyways, their relationship was going well, and they were keeping things pretty lighthearted until Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy, who was still a toddler at the time, made a comment asking when they would get married. Richard then asked for Blue's approval to marry her grandma, and she gave her blessing. Now, Richard and Tina hadn't even discussed marriage before this, but they took it as a sign and got married the very next year. Now, one thing that people have found very weird is the fact that after Tina got married to Richard, she decided to keep Matthew's last name Knowles. She chose to hyphenate it with Matthew's last name Lawson, and she became Tina Knowles Lawson. People have always wondered why on earth she didn't just drop the Knowles since she was no longer married to Matthew. But she probably wanted to keep that part of her identity, especially since both of her daughters still had the Knowles last name. Anywho, People were rooting for their marriage to work. It took them 3 decades to find each other, and if we're being honest, they made a super cute couple. They were always spotted hand in hand with each other, and it was rare for them to make public appearances without each other. But then in 2018, something happened between them that caused a lot of controversy online. They both went on a show, and Tina said that Richard was not perfect.
I prayed for the type of man I wanted, and I got pretty much that. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But, you know, he has a lot of the qualities. He has a lot of the qualities that that I love, and we're having a really good time. And
yeah, he definitely had issues with that. It wasn't what she said, but how she said it. And from the look on his face, he felt a type of way about it. And I think ever since then, their marriage has been kind of rocky. Like, they just kind of slowed down as being the happy married couple. And divorce rumors about them have been going around for months now. Tina hasn't posted pictures of her and Richard on Instagram in months. And the last time she posted was in March at the Vanity Fair Oscars party. Even worse, he wasn't invited to Jay-Z's mom's wedding earlier this month, even though Tina was in attendance. This is not the type of event that he would have missed, so fans knew that something was up. Even more, Tina didn't attend the screening of Richard's new movie, Black Terror, and in pictures from the event, fans noticed that he wasn't wearing his wedding ring, which was very unusual of him. But the biggest red flag is the fact that Tina removed Richard's last name from her Instagram bio. It used to say Tina Knows Lawson, but now it just says Tina Knows, and it looks like the marriage is really over. And according to an insider, Tina has been trying to downplay the split, hoping that people wouldn't notice. Apparently, things have been rough between her and Richard for a while now. According to sources, the marriage had just run its course. They tried to patch things up, hoping that things would sort themselves out. They tried for a long time to make things work, but it got to a point where Tina realized that she no longer wanted to be married to Richard. She believes that they are better off as friends, and that trying to force a marriage will only make things worse in the long run. Now, as for the real reason the marriage ended, well, many believe it has a lot to do with Tina being too much of a perfectionist and controlling. Now, we all know Miss Tina has gotten herself in situations where she didn't really belong and said things that sometimes go out of boundaries. So her being too controlling could be the reason why the marriage ended. Now, people have different opinions about this drama, and they left comments saying, just because you knew the person before doesn't mean it's going to work when you finally get together. Things change and people change over time. I am not surprised. She does not respect Mr. Lawson. She also appears very condescending. If she disrespects him in interviews and on the world stage, imagine what happens behind the scenes. And I watched that interview and I could tell they weren't going to last. People need to understand that not every person you like means you're supposed to be with them. I think he got caught up in the idea of who she was in his head and thought that's who she'd be. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think Tina is really to blame for this divorce? Let me know what your thoughts are, and if you love this video, then you're going to love the next one even more.